Hi, everybody. Lara Riggio here. And as you know, I teach energy hacks. They're simple, easy, and effective exercises you can do on your own to help your body overcome physical and emotional stress. And today, I am super excited to have a special guest here with me on the blog. Her name is Jess Abo, and she has been a acclaimed, award-winning journalist. She's a keynote speaker all over the world, and she's written this incredible book that I want to share with you called Unfiltered: How to Be as Happy as You Look on Social Media. And guys, this book is, I think, such an important book for our time right now, because social media has really become such a powerful force in our world. And I think that there's a lot of people that are arguing about both the positive and negative effects of social media out there. And often I hear people and clients complain about just being on social media and how they feel after they get off, and also how it affects their mood, their confidence level, and their state of being in their own lives. And Jess completely addresses this in this book. And so I want to ask her, first of all, Jess, how did you come to write this book? What was the passion and the purpose behind it? Because social media is something that does affect our energy. And so because this blog deals with energy, I would love for you to share with us your words of wisdom about this very topic. So why did you write this book?
So first, thank you for having me on. And as a longtime client of yours, I have benefited tremendously, and even write about this in the book, from working with you and acknowledging where I had my own blocks. And I think in working with you and understanding where I was, it enabled me to be a better friend to the people that I would have coffee with or lunch with. And everywhere I went, people just kept saying, I have to log off social media. It's making me so depressed. Or every time I log on, I see someone else got engaged or had a baby or bought a house, and I just broke up with someone, or my partner and I are struggling, or I can barely afford my rent. And everyone just sort of seemed to me like they were stacking their happiness against what other people had. And everywhere I went in the keynote world, people would want to talk to me after a speech, and oftentimes it would be directed to something I said in the speech, but always include something related to their career, their level of community activism, or their relationships. And I just sort of felt like I needed more time with people, and I wanted to be like a friend to them, sitting on their couch with them and talking about all these issues, but I would have to catch a flight and wouldn't be able to do that. So the book was supposed to be called Chief Empowerment Officer: How to Be the CEO of Your Life. I felt at some point like that was just way too rah-rah for the culture that we're living in, and just kept saying to people, I just want to write about being as happy as you look on social media. And I said it enough times that title stuck.
Well, I think it's certainly, all of the information in this is just so powerful. So when we talk about social media and the effect on people, and this compare and despair phenomenon that you talk about in the book, can you just talk a little bit about that and what people are doing, and then also maybe some tips to overcome it?
Sure. So we know from studies that there is a tremendous link between our psychology and technology. We know that people spend half of their time responding to alerts and buzzes because their phone is ringing. They actually hear a noise. But the other half of the time that they are picking up their device, it's because they're responding to a phantom buzz. They're responding to their cortisol level rising and a signal going off in their brain saying, you may be getting a message. Someone may have liked a picture. Someone may have posted something that you would want to see, and you're missing out. So our bodies are creating this extra sense of FOMO, this fear of missing out, and it's really impacting our health. So not only are we spending...
Yeah, I want to ask you one question about that. So are you saying that, I think this is important just to reiterate for the people out there, so you're saying that our bodies are actually chemically addicted?
Yeah.
Chemically addicted to our phones. Because one of the things I see in my work is that people come in and their central nervous systems right off the bat are completely like overstimulated, and I have to sedate and calm their central nervous system stress before we can do any work to even help them accept change.
Very familiar with those exercises for that very, very specific practice. And And that's, how I have felt. And I know so many other people have felt, but yes, we sometimes like wonder, how is it that we went, on one of our social media platforms for 5 minutes just because we were bored, or waiting for our Postmates to arrive, or we were standing in line at the checkout counter at Whole Foods. And, all of a sudden, like an hour later, we have gone down this black hole and we find ourselves on the phone with a friend. Did you see so-and-so's post? Or, oh my gosh, you were having this awesome day, and then you saw something about someone else, and then all of a sudden your awesome day seemed really small. And the answer is yes. We are social animals, and there's something called the social comparison theory. And as a result, because as animals who are social beings, we are wired to compare our DNA, like it's wired in our DNA to compare our status to the status of other animals. But we're also human beings, and we know that people post typically selectively positive information, is what psychologists call it. And you would think, because we're smart people, we send men and women into space, we are curing diseases, we would think that if someone said to us over tacos, I'm having the worst time at work, I hate my job, I'm about to get fired, and my relationship is a mess, like we would believe them because it's our friend. But what we know is that if that same person were to post something 2 hours after our lunch and show that they just bought a new pair of shoes or a handbag or tickets to an awesome sporting event, showing that their life is really amazing, we as human beings would look at that post and be like, oh my gosh, they're killing it. They are living a better life than we are, even though we just had lunch with this person and we know their truth. So it's actually an exercise that we need to do regularly. In the same way we need to go to the gym to get a six pack, or we need to do clearing exercises to keep our body in alignment, we actually have to remind ourselves that people are posting selectively positive information, and we can't believe everything we see because we're really looking at someone's curated highlight reel. It is just one of the hardest things for us to do. And as a result, people fall into the compare and despair trap a lot. And what ends up happening is that they end up robbing themselves of their own joy, and they're comparing themselves to other people who may in reality may not be happier.
Mm-hmm. That's a really, really good point that I think a lot of people out there don't really recognize. So super important point. Just having a question. So it's interesting that people look at the post and they immediately go to compare and despair versus, oh, I'm so happy for that person.
Right.
And when I look at people's relationships in their own lives, often I think we attract what we mirror. And so often, when my friends have something good happen, I get excited for them because I think, wow, well, maybe I can have that in my life too. So if I have someone in my life that has that, maybe I can have that too. And it creates a new possibility for what's possible. Why do you think people are going straight to lack versus this abundance?
I think people often forget that there's enough oxygen in the room for everyone. I think people think happiness is a pie. I write about this in the book quite a bit. People think that if you got engaged or you got promoted or you lost 50 pounds, somehow that means there's less happiness for me in the world. And I think if people did think more like you talk about the very same philosophy as upset is access. Like, hey, if you're upset about something, this is awesome because you can access information within yourself to get where you want to go. It just will start within you. I think some people are so afraid to do that kind of work and to do that kind of self-audit. It's so much easier to be like, oh, well, there's less happiness for me, so I may as well throw in the towel and be depressed and, just be in a bad mood for the rest of the night and, watch, another series on, Netflix and drink rosé and call it a day. But, life won't get better for me from here. And the truth is, like, to your point, there's enough happiness to go around. Your happiness does not take away from my happiness. And if people, I think, were more sensitive to when they get to a happy place, to remember the people who are still trying to get there themselves, people would be so much more honest with themselves. Because someone would be like, oh, I'm in a relationship, but I totally understand what it felt like last year when I was single and where you are, opposed to, why? Being single is not such a bad thing. Just put yourself out there. And you like want to shake your head and be like, but you were where I was a year ago. How are you forgetting what it's like to be here? So I think if people were more honest with their own struggles along the journey and what what struggles they even face when they reach each milestone and each positive destination, it would just enable other people to be a little bit more themselves, not feel so alone, and realize that we're all a work in progress and everyone will be okay.
Yeah. And so I just want to, that was beautifully, beautifully said. And everybody who reads my blog knows that I'm always talking about upset as access, and really inviting people to lean into their pain and to lean into whatever upsetting feelings they're feeling, because all that is a sign. It's simply a sign that maybe what you're seeing on social media is maybe what you want. And if you don't have it, your level of upset is just the distance between where you are and what you want. And if we can look at these things as just signs, and signs that, okay, it's time for me to maybe change my perspective on what I'm doing with my life, so that I can make changes in the way I'm behaving, so I can get more of what I want, or maybe I need to look at some of my internal wounds and internal subconscious beliefs, so that I can retrain them to ultimately get what I want. And that's the work that I did and we did together. And it was awesome to hear your baby in the background, because when you first came to see me, you were single, and you're like, Lara, what do I have to do not to be single? Like, you were in that place.
I must have met you now 4 years ago. Yeah, it must have been 4 years ago, because I met Brett 3 years ago. We've been married for 2. So yes, I sat next to you at a dinner, got to a dinner late, happened to be sitting in a seat that was designated for a friend of mine who never showed up at the dinner. So it was just so serendipitous that we were next to each other out of the gate. And in learning about your work, I remember saying to you, like, listen, I totally appreciate what you do. I don't hate men. I'm not too picky. I'm not too career oriented. I'm not sure like if I have a blocked chakra. I don't even know where my chakras are, but like, I just would like to know, like, what do I need to do? I'm going on a date a week. I went on like 50 something dates last year, and just, cannot seem to figure this out. And really in working with you, I realized I love my family so much, but I was someone who was putting my family's needs and, just anything they needed from me ahead of me and my own relationships. And that was like so eye-opening and liberating. And my family the whole time was like, please, like go out in the world, like get married, bye.
And you ultimately needed to create emotional space for a man in your life, which is what we helped you
worked on. Really, and I think that's what I try to do in the book too, is like give people an opportunity. The first thing I ask people to do is just acknowledge that there are a lot of hardships in life. So if you're single, that's hard. If you're married, it's hard. If you're pregnant, that's hard. If you're trying to get pregnant, that's hard. If you're facing an illness, that's hard. If you're caring for someone, that's hard. Like there's a whole bucket that makes life, different for all of us, but equally hard. And, like hardship doesn't discriminate. And I wanted people just to acknowledge that equal playing field, but then also like get it out of their system. Like, what is it that's eating at them the most? Because I don't think if you're honest with that, then that you can actually do this work. So it's very similar to the work you do with people in real life, is asking them to just say like, well, what is it that you want? Or like, what is it that you're upset over? Or who haven't you really let go? Because all of that stuff really weighs in when we're triggered by someone else's post. And we just may not realize that someone's post about their vacation really means something else about us and where we are. And it's really not that we want to go to Aruba. It's like really about something bigger that we need within ourselves. So that's why I feel like, I channeled so much of what I learned with you in writing this, but it's so much how I felt that I just wanted people to have access to this sort of way of thinking and this sort of information, because I did not know for a very long time that I was able to control a lot more of my life if I just had the right sort of thinking and strategy behind it. And when you wake up intentional, and I'm totally guilty of waking up and checking my phone, but a lot of people will say, if you wake up and don't check your phone first, and you actually brush your teeth first, or you meditate first, or do one of your exercises first, like it really does change your day, opposed to getting stuck in bed and looking at what you think is important from the night before, only to feel bad about the fact that something you posted the night before didn't get as many likes as you thought it would, or someone posted a picture that, like reminded you of something you don't have. So all of it really is important, and it really does impact our health.
So that's an awesome first tip. I just want to give some straight tips. So tip number one, pay attention to what your first thoughts are in the morning and have an intention about how you want to start your day. So how do you do that? You wake up and maybe as you're brushing your teeth, you say, what do you do? Do you have a ritual, a specific ritual that you use?
So when I was more religious about this, I would try to actually do one of your videos. I texted a bunch of them to my phone a while back. And, you know, I try to do like some of the tapping or clearing because I just sort of felt like I was in a new city with a baby, with a new book, and just sort of feeling like I needed to make sense of all of the new things I was juggling, but also not lose the person I had worked so hard to create up until this chapter of my life. So I just found that like for the overwhelm, you know, and other things, or just helping me like be very clear and intentional in the kind of work I want to be attracting, given my new constraints on time, that doing one of your videos was very helpful. I have fallen a little bit into my own slippery slope where lately I have been checking my phone first, and I need to really fix that. But something that was very helpful while I was writing the book was I cleared my apps from my home screen and I put them further down on my phone, and it enabled me to catch more when I was logging on myself. I happened to move at a time where at my old newsroom in New York, there were like an abundance of opportunities for people, and I was on my way out to move to a new market and start from scratch. And instead of getting upset about it, I just, you know, chose not to log in as frequently to see the posts and see the new sets and everything going along with it. And it enabled me to focus more on my new life here and the beautiful weather here and make new friends here, because I wasn't, buried in my phone. I always say like head up, phone down. So, you know, I think having no phone zones, whether that means no phone in your bedroom or no phone in your bathroom or no phone in your boardroom, being religious to that is good. And then to help with the phantom buzz stuff, I've turned off my alerts so I don't get buzzes all day long. And, you know, you forget about your phone when, you know, you don't think that you're hearing a sound that never went off. So those are just some of the things. Some people like putting their phone on silent mode. That's another one. So airplane mode, silent mode, turning off alerts, taking your apps off your phone, not deleting social media completely, just not having them easily accessible, I think makes you more accountable. Because then you're like, why am I logging in right now? And every time you have to do your whole email and your password, it's so annoying that you're like, I'm gonna phone a friend instead. And that's actually a great way to be. But like we were saying before, social media is totally not the enemy, and you can use social media for good. And a way to do that is when you see someone's post, to your point, actually say, congrats on your promotion, or congrats on your home, it looks beautiful, or congrats on your engagement, or I'm sorry for your loss. My prayers are, you know, with you. You're in my thoughts. Because that's really when we build, you know, community online, is when we're really engaging with people and we're not just voyeurs looking at other people and then leaving, you know, as emptier human beings.
Yeah. And I think also I'm going to just add to that. When you are congratulating people, you know, that you're seeing have this stuff, know that it's in your energy field, and that like, wow, I can't wait to have that too, if it's something you want. So I'm celebrating that for them, and my future, you know, my future self having it as well is another way to look at it. And I just wanted to go
for me.
Yeah. And the other thing I just wanted to say, so, you know, just in terms of doing the intention setting in the morning, I love the idea, and I think I'm going to start redoing it again as well myself. When you get up, I like to press snooze and literally get in the cross posture. You cross your ankles, and then you take your hands, place the backs of them together, and you cross them. You can lay in bed in this position and think about what you want. And just little by little, I can have more peace today. Little by little, I can have more ease today. Little by little, I can have more love in my life today. And just repeat that over and over and over again. And guys, it is a magical, magical tool. When you start your day with an intention and you connect it in with your central nervous system with this exercise, I have to say, I've created more time and space in my life. My days just go so much better when I do that. So we can both make a commitment with everybody out there to do that. And that
Yeah.
would be awesome. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention that I think is such a cool, inspiring, you know, you have several stories of this in your book, is turning pain into possibility, but also purpose. Because you have several stories about how people's pain helped them understand how they could give back in the world, and they became major advocates. So that's another way, guys, that you can see how your upset could create access, and your pain could create more possibility for not just you, but many, many people out there in the world. So there are so many amazing tips in this book, guys. I highly, highly recommend that you get it. You can buy it online. Just Google Jess Abo. I'm actually going to put a link down to the bottom of where you can get the book, because incredible, inspiring stories and a lot more great information about this very topic. And I think that as we continue to have social media in our lives, this is something that we're going to have a constant dialogue about, because it is relatively new and people are reacting to it clearly. So this has been such a great, helpful talk. I hope everybody out there has enjoyed it. I certainly am now going to be starting my intention setting. I'm going to turn off the alerts on my phone. I'm going to make sure that I have my quiet time without my phone. And because the thing I haven't been doing is at night when I'm going to bed, I'm not turning it on airplane mode. And I think it is affecting my sleep. So that's another thing, so we can disengage from technology and help our cells rest from the electromagnetic frequencies these phones put out. And what was the other thing? Is there anything else? When we see someone's success online, let's celebrate it and know that if it is something that we want, that we can have it too. I think we covered everything and reviewed it, and I am just so excited we had this conversation. Thank you so much for being on the blog today.
Thank you. Thank you. I will be cross posturing tomorrow morning. Thinking of you and everyone who is listening. You know, I wish everyone all of the success that their hearts desire, and that anything that they are wanting, that it all comes true for them and for you. So I love you to pieces, Lara. Thank you so much for having me.
I love you too. I love you guys, and getting those cross postures tomorrow morning, because you can have what you want. You just have to believe it's possible.